The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Appreciate the text lines continue to blow up. The YouTube chat continues. Your calls from throughout the numerous states around the country since the story from Brett Zwerneman last Wednesday. And my goodness, college football has been put on its ear. And one guy, Ross Dellenger, SI.com, has done a great job, as tied in as anybody else with what is the goings on. And everyone knows the story, maybe knows. Ross, we've tried to get you on for about 2 weeks. Well, hell, it was pretty bad timing on my part, right? With all the stuff that started breaking a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy 10 days. You know, I saw it last summer with the COVID stuff, and the social injustice stuff was pretty busy. But then came this year with college football playoff and now realignment here.
Well, so go ahead, Craig. You know, we see where we are now. Nothing changed other than, you know, we knew Texas and Oklahoma say, okay, yeah, we want to do this. Now the NCAA wants to have some kind of forum or quorum or whatever, which is a little bit late. Now you're starting to see Gene Smith and others say, hey, wait a minute, this expansion, maybe we're going too fast. Where are we with that? And has this, with the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma, perhaps pushed that back a little bit?
Yeah, I believe we're probably looking at some delay in the college football playoff. I was out west in L.A. on Monday and Tuesday at Pac-12 Media Day, and I came away from that, and I wrote a story on SI on Tuesday night that it was probably going to be delayed. That was the sense that I got from talking to people out there out west, is that there was a delay coming to the expansion because, partly at least, because of the realignment. And it's not the only reason. There were certainly issues with the expansion model before the realignment stuff happened, but I think that was kind of the final straw for a couple of reasons. You know, Greg Sankey was involved in a working group of creating this model over the last 2 years and finalizing it over the last few months. And, you know, while he was finalizing it, he was potentially in discussion with Texas and Oklahoma. And so he kind of knew that the SEC may grow by 2 teams. So it's a little bit, administrators might say, compromising the model. And then there's another big issue here with this, is that you could have more realignment. You could have more movement now that you had such a huge splash. You could have dominoes falling everywhere else that could cause this to, just push pause on it. And then I'll say there's, you know, even before the realignment, there was some discussion, and we wrote about it last week at SEC Media Days, of how the Rose Bowl and how the contract could be a hang-up in CFP expansion. And I think one of the big hang-ups is the contract with the CFP and ESPN. You have a expansion model that is as lucrative as anything to come out of college football ever. And you're going to only allow one media rights holder, ESPN, to basically bid on it because the contract doesn't end until 2025. If you waited till 2026, you would have an open market where everybody could bid on this very lucrative idea. And so I think that we're heading, it feels like, toward a more delayed college football playoff expansion. I think we're still going to get there, but it's just going to be delayed.
Ross, you were listening into Greg Sankey appeared on the Feinbaum show, and he had a lot of interesting comments. What was of most interest to you that you heard?
Well, it was a lot of the same stuff. Greg Sankey came out yesterday, I think probably in response to a couple stories from us at SI and then from The Athletic over the college football playoff, and how administrators, like I just mentioned, believe that there should be a delay because of several reasons, and a pause should be pushed in it. And so he came out speaking, I I don't want to say against that, but he certainly was telling his side of the story, saying that the model wasn't compromised, shouldn't be looked at as being compromised because he was on the committee that created it and might have known that realignment was coming. He also said that the SEC, and he said this for months now, was not really clamoring for a playoff, an expanded playoff. He has said many times that the playoff can stay at 4 teams, that would be okay to him. And he reasserted that on Feinbaum.
You believe him on that last part?
I mean, kind of, I guess. With the SEC growing to 16 teams and adding 2 big brands like Texas and Oklahoma, I think it would now probably behoove the SEC to have more teams available to participate in the playoff. And it makes a lot of sense. And that's why, again, some administrators believe that maybe the model was compromised a little bit because of all this that has happened, and Sankey being on the working group. So either way, the SEC is probably going to be fine. It'd probably get 1 or 2 teams in a 14 playoff, but you take it to 12 or even more, and the SEC's liable to have half or more than half of the field in a playoff. It's certainly possible, and that is another fear from administrators. So there's probably going to be, depending on how realignment shakes out, there's probably going to be some tweaks and tinkering going on with the format, whether it's adding more teams or putting some kind of cap, maybe automatic berths for certain conferences. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch.
Ross, there's so many rumors flying around right now. It's a lot of college football fans are obviously very interested and affected by this. We've heard about, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten talking. We've heard about, the ACC may feel a little unsteady due to that ESPN contract. And obviously the Big 12 is just kind of in a weird position as it is right now. What storyline perhaps or maybe something along the lines of further expansion have you maybe had interest in, or are you putting some stock into, if any?
Yeah, it's really hard to predict the next domino in realignment that will fall. And you get the feeling, of course, I'm going to say this, and then, in an hour we'll have some big, huge breaking news, but you get the feeling that no one is really rushing to this. That's just, again, the feeling I get is that maybe this will slow down a little bit, but at some point there will be more dominoes, because I don't think conferences are going to sit idle when the SEC goes to 16 members, which is the biggest in the nation. Not only that, but adds the 2 big brands like they've added. Now, for right now, they're not going to be joining the SEC to compete until 2025. Although you can imagine that being moved up. It doesn't feel like conferences are rushing out, but there's certainly a lot of options and speculation out there, specifically with the remaining Big 12, the 8 remaining members. And I'm sure they'll be enticed potentially to go elsewhere. I'm sure that some of them are knocking on others' doors, and others probably don't have a choice to go anywhere. And they're trying to hold the line, hold the 8 together, and maybe at some point pick up 2 to 4 to 6 new members from a group of 5 conference.
Ross Dellenger, SI.com. Follow him on Twitter. He does an incredible job with covering college football. Ross, with what Bob Bowlesby did and what he said to ESPN, what he's already said to Texas, Oklahoma, which of course is part of the grant of rights and whatever they can possibly get in the end, there's a lot of people that first of all, how did he not know? Well, hardly anybody did. That's why the story was a shocker when it was cut open, a week and a half ago. But that's the only really choice they have right now, right? Is it for somehow patience, 8 teams stay together, at least get something out of this, and then, as you said, maybe be calling other people? But was it a ballsy move, in your opinion, what he did to ESPN?
Oh, yeah, it certainly was. And you got to wonder with the future of that relationship would be between the Big 12 and ESPN. And I think for Bob Bowlesby to do that, he as he told us and multiple other media outlets that he has irrefutable evidence that documentation that ESPN conspired with another conference to try to raid the Big 12 and thus dissolving it and thus saving ESPN contractual TV money and potentially allowing Texas and Oklahoma to break free with no penalty if the league would dissolve. That was kind of the end goal. So in order to levy those allegations publicly and in a formal letter, I would imagine that he has some kind of real hard proof. And I don't know if he takes it the next step and goes to court. I guess if he learns that it's still continuing, although ESPN says it never happened and it has no merit, but if he learns it's still continuing, I would imagine he would take the next step.
Ross, appreciate it. How was California? Was that you were on? I tweeted at you because I tried to get you on. I know you were on vacation, and in the middle of that, you're having to report something. So our job is never done. But did you have a great time? Did you get a little break? Because obviously there's not one right now.
No break. I didn't even go to the beach in LA. I always find myself going to the beach, and I never even had a chance to do that. So I'm finishing up a story now. Hope to have the weekend free, but who knows?
Ross, thanks for being a part when you are with our show. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. See you.
Ross Dellenger with SI.com.
Yeah, and he had a couple of